This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix and clean and customize it. McDonald Boneyard of Keota, Iowa for all of your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's your choice. Your Choice Family Restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Try the John Bain sandwich on your next visit. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snow blowers. B&B Propane and the family of Jet Stops. CW Tree Trimming LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area, and we offer a senior citizen and veterans discount. Iowa Technology Systems delivers expert IT management that keeps your business running by ensuring your systems stay online and secure. Visit iowatechsys.com. They all present the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, me, John Bain. It's March 23rd, 2026, and the Mount Pleasant Community School District is holding their Board of Education meeting at Mount Pleasant High School in the media room. On the agenda, public hearing of fiscal year budget, a public hearing on a closure of this school right here, Salem Elementary, in the town of Salem, Iowa, at the conclusion of 2026-2027 year. Work session fiscal year 2027 buildings, project list, fiscal year 27 certified budget discussion. And I thought it was appropriate to start this episode here. Now I'll take you to Mount Pleasant.
All right, sorry for the delay. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. Jessica, roll call.
Lind.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Schrader. Overberg.
Here.
Hampton.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Hurd.
Here.
Next, we have approval of the agenda. The only item to note is that we need to discuss April committee meeting schedule during our work session.
Motion to approve agenda. Second.
Jessica, roll call.
Lind.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Schrader. Overberg.
Yes.
Hampton.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Hurd.
Yes.
Our first item on our agenda is our first public hearing of the night on our fiscal year 2027 certified budget.
Okay, board members, you have these documents in your packet. These documents, they have all been posted to the website. Everything that we're covering tonight is posted on the website. You can get to it through the announcements up above by clicking the arrow, or if you go to the menu and go to school board and go to the meeting, tonight's meeting, the agenda document, the documents that we're going over, all of them are posted there as well. So let me go to our meeting documents. I will make this bigger, as big as I can, so people will be able to see. The first item is our fiscal year 27 certified budget. We are currently in fiscal year 26. That ends June 30th. Fiscal year 27 begins July 1. So we are certifying a budget capacity for fiscal year 27, and we're also taking a look at the overall levy rate. The certified budget process for public school districts in Iowa required two public hearings. Tonight is the first of our public hearings. We have published a first pass at the budget. We'll take a look at the overall levy rate and then how that is built. And then later in the meeting, we do have in the work session items some time for discussion on the budget and any adjustments that the board might like to talk about or they might like to see. So the published document for this budget, the overall levy rate at $12 and just $12.10 about $12.11 is what we published on this for this first hearing. Currently, in fiscal year 26, our overall levy rate is $11.97, almost 98 cents. Okay, so let's take a look at how that comes together. And again, I'll make this as big as I can as we go through this. We do know that the regular program, the percentage of growth for the state supplemental aid is 2%. The legislature approved that. The governor has signed that. It was a 2% increase in state supplemental aid. The modified supplemental amount for at-risk and dropout that our board has already approved, $340,528. The instructional support program. The instructional support program allows school districts to tax for up to 10% of the regular program costs. For Mount Pleasant, it's about $1 million that can be used on any general fund purchase or any general fund expense. So the way that is made up in our school district, we've asked for the full 10%, and the first thing that's applied is an income surtax. Before any property tax is applied, an income surtax is applied first. That generates X amount of dollars, and then the rest is property tax after that. Currently, in fiscal year 26, our income surtax is 5%. In this published budget, our income surtax, we took it up to 8%. Moving down here, this is, sorry about that. This is the cash reserve levy. We are able to cash reserve for just a little bit, $43,363. So that cash reserve it helps cash flow, so we're able. There's a state formula for that. We are for fiscal year 27, able to, as I mentioned, cash reserve for a very, very modest amount, $43,363. This next line, 19.2, is the voted PEPL, the voted physical plant and equipment levy. Mount Pleasant has $1.34. $1.34 per thousand. That again, the voted PEPL generates $800,000 to $900,000. So that's $1.34. Our voted PEPL is in place till fiscal year 30, and we're entering into fiscal year 27 this next year, and so the voted PEPL is on the books until fiscal year 30. I'll go over here to the management levy. The management levy is a pure property tax ask. In this published budget, we're asking in this budget for $1,250,000. The lion's share of the PEPL dollars go to pay property insurance, property casualty insurance, workman's compensation, any early retirements, any legal settlements. The reason that we have bumped that up just a little bit, from 1 million to 1,250,000, I've shared this with the board. Our insurer, who insures our property, Employers Mutual Casualty, EMC, for all wind and hail losses, they now apply a 1% deductible. It's 1% of the total insured value of the property. So our high school is insured at about $36 million. So if we had a wind and hail event here that damaged the high school, we would be responsible for up to the first, well, at $36 million, we'd be responsible for up to the first $360,000. So that's been in place for 2 years. Would that be right? It's been in place for 2 years. And again, board members, we can talk about whether you want to keep that at $1.25 million. That could come down a little bit. That's a discussion that we can have, because this is our first published budget. We'll talk about it tonight, and then we can make any adjustments that you would like to consider. The board approved fiscal plant and equipment levy is 33 cents. That is approved annually when we certify the budget, if the board chooses to do so. That brings it in about $240,000, just about $241,000. So that really is are the components of what we certified initially, not certified, but what we published initially at $12.10 per thousand. Again, this year, $11.98. So there is room for adjustment. We can adjust the income surtax rate. We can adjust the management fund, and since the publishing of this budget, the Department of Education, the Department of Revenue where you publish these, Department of Management, has applied the legislation of the state paying for the budget guarantee. So we were on the budget guarantee. We are on the budget guarantee, so since this publishing, the state has now applied the state covering the cost of the budget guarantee. So I just tell you when we later have this discussion, these same components at these levels, if the state is paying for the budget guarantee, goes down to what we figure $11.70. A reduction to $11.70. So from $11.98 to $11.70 on the same numbers, and that's what the state statewide. The state of Iowa is that's in legislation. The state of Iowa is paying for the budget guarantee for districts that are on the guarantee, which is, what's that percentage, Aaron? Percentage of districts?
199 schools out of 325.
190, so 200 out of 320. But I talked about it tonight in terms of this $12.10 because that's what we published.
And your published is the highest you can go and make reductions.
That is correct. You can bring those asks down, but you can't go back up.
Board questions?
I have a question on the management fund. So What are we targeting for a balance in the management fund? Because year over year, we're up about 300,000 at this point. So what are we targeting by adding more in there?
What are we targeting for a balance?
Yes.
As a balance? Yeah, that's definitely a good, fair question. I'd have to look at what was, I don't have last year's balance. You have last year's balance? Yeah. When we, Craig, when we discuss that in the work session, we'll pull up the January 30th balance and we can have a discussion about, okay, what are we comfortable with? What are we comfortable with as a balance in a, you know, what would that look like in a worst case scenario? You know, if
Okay.
we, yep.
Then my second question is, can you explain the benefit of going with a higher income surtax so why would we need to do that as opposed to just keeping the property tax where it is?
Yeah. Kevin, can you hear me?
I can hear you real good, John. Everybody else needs to talk a little louder in the mic if you could.
Okay, I'm gonna end the call on my phone because you are now on the computer.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. So the income surtax, I mean, the way I look, it really is a philosophical approach, or how you want to approach the overall levy rate. If you don't own property, and you live in the district but you don't own property, but you do pay income taxes, then if we increase that income surtax rate, then those who don't own property but they do pay income taxes are paying an amount to the instructional support levy.
Is there a higher tax burden placed on the citizens since we would be reducing property taxes on corporations in the school district?
I'm not quite, I don't think I'm following the question.
So if we got a higher percentage of the instructional support levy from income taxes and a lower percentage from property taxes.
Okay.
The corporations would benefit from that as well.
That is true. That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. That is correct.
How does it affect, or how does it come out of the income tax? Because we have a flat tax now in Iowa, correct? So you're not charged more.
When you do your taxes, there is a spot on your taxes for the income surtax rate for Henry County, Mount Pleasant Community School District.
It's separate from the flat tax. It's an additional on top.
Okay. So if it's a philosophical, is that more for the board to decide how we want to do it? Or Dr. Dentley, you're coming in here as superintendent, I imagine we all work together. What would your philosophy be on that, since this would be your budget?
Right, I think that's, you have to collectively talk about board ideas because you represent the community. And so districts can choose whether or not they have an income surtax or not. So that would be something that you would have to decide.
So we can, the numbers in the spreadsheet can be adjusted to see if we went down to 5 or we went up to 10, what does that do to property tax rates? And then, so ultimately, when we looked at the budgeting cycle and the projections, right, one of the things we were looking for was to try to keep property tax as flat as possible, or in a range around $12 or less is what those financial projections. So one of those levers that we can decide to help adjust those and make minimum adjustments overall is that piece. So we are able to look at the different numbers to see how those affect it.
Correct.
Other board questions? All right, so this is a public piece to speak on the certified budget only. So if you would like to make a statement or have your concerns heard, you can come up to the podium. There's a microphone. Please state your name and any comments you have on the fiscal year 27 certified budget. All right. State your name. Yes, thank you.
Hello, I'm Melissa Pites. I do not reside in Henry County, but I do own property in Henry County. So that is why I'm here. I did send an email today, but I realized it was late, so I didn't receive a response, which is fine. But one of my questions that I sent in an email is that on our sheet that we received, it states that the slight increase in the property tax rate is due to decline in enrollment and increased cost. So my question is, what's being done about decline in enrollment? And is the proposed tax rate going to continue to increase? Because every year, is it going to continue to decline and therefore the tax rate going to increase? Or how are we going to stop that?
In our last work session, we had been looking at numbers, and what I was talking about, keeping the tax rate with declining enrollment and increasing costs, that's why we're in the middle of $1.8 million in budget reductions out of the general fund. And then looking forward, if enrollment continues to decline, we would need to look at about $500,000 of additional budget reductions each year to maintain a level around a $12 tax rate. So that's our job as we look forward, is to be proactive and make the right adjustments as quickly as possible. But we know that it is also volatile with legislation, just like the legislation that was just passed. This $12.10 will no longer be an increase because the state decided to cover it. The state might not decide to cover it again, so somewhat at the mercy of state legislature as well.
So I would add, and Jessica, you can jump in here as well, but in the certified budget process, the uniform levy rate of $5.40 for all school districts is applied across the state of Iowa. There's really very little adjustment in the certified budget process that has to do, the decline in enrollment has already been factored in to the certified budget process. You only get the number of students times the per pupil amount. That's already factored in. We can't adjust any of that. The only adjustments that you really can make in the certified budget process have to do with cash reserve. They have to do with the budget guarantee, which this year is being covered by the state of Iowa. You can adjust your instructional support levy. If you don't want to get the full 10%, you can do less than 10%. You can adjust the income surtax if you have an income surtax on your ISL. And really the only other adjustment is the management fund. That's the only adjustments that we get to make to get to this number right here. Because any enrollment decrease has already been factored in. The enrollment that we had in October, that's already been factored in by the DOM as part of this process.
Hello, my name is Mary Hoyer and I live in Salem. I would like a clear understanding of what you mean by declining enrollment. Has it been declining across all grades? Has it been declining consistently year by year? I know the reimbursement policy for people who want to attend non-public schools has been implemented in the last few years. How much has that changed the enrollment? And also, what is the change in population that is not currently enrolled, but essentially the number of children who are 3 years younger or 2 years older, that the school will be, you know, this is a longer term projection I'm asking about than just a single year budget, but I would like to really understand specific numbers about what you mean by declining enrollment. What is the percentage? What are the numbers, actual numbers? Where do they occur? As I said, how consistent has it been? What do you expect over the next 5 years?
We'll go through that in the next presentation before the next hearing.
Yes, more information is being shared as part of budget reductions and our analysis of that, not necessarily in reference to the fiscal year 27 certified budget.
All right, I don't quite know where to put this, but can you say what is the declining enrollment this year compared to last year, just to make the question really simple? How many people are enrolled in the school system right now compared to how many people
Yeah.
were enrolled last year?
The decrease in the certified was 51 students.
Out
But
of, and that reflects a percentage of 51 students is a percentage of what
51 students fewer
out of,
in October 2025 than October 2024.
I understand that, but compared to total enrollment, that
3%.
3%, thank you very much.
So about a 3% reduction in students.
Okay.
Are there any other comments on the certified budget? All right, we will close that public hearing.
I'm Lane Evans, and I was looking in 2024, the management budget was $743,000. 2027, it's $1,238,584 on this current budget. And that's a concern because in another 3 years, what is it going to be? And what's the control on that? And why is it jumping so much? That's three years, and $500,000.
I'm happy to answer.
You can answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's as I said, first of all, the board is going to discuss it, and when we get to the work session items, we certified 1,250. Excuse me, $1,250,000. Yes, that's what we certified. And the reason that we did that was because the exposure, the property exposure that we now have with our insurance carrier, if we were to have a wind and hail event at one of our insured properties.
Now, with that, once we put all that money in our budget and we tax people for that, doesn't that money roll over to the next year if it's not used? So
The management fund balance does, yes.
So you're saying $500,000 more from 2026 to 2027 is insurance?
I'm not saying, I'm saying that we have increased exposure. We have increased liability. The more of the risk is on the school district.
It's proposed, and we will discuss if we want to keep it that high or we want to lower it, but we needed to start at a number that we felt comfortable with being increasing costs that come out of the management fund, which are mostly insurance.
And then, is part of this, like the Iowa Wesleyan Central campus costs, like the general revenue things like insurance, but insurance, mowing, painting, utilities to keep it cool, heated. Is that a reason we're increasing the management fund so much? Because we have all these buildings now?
No.
You sure?
Yeah. Are we doing 3 minutes on this, or? Those are general fund costs, not management fund. You cannot use the management fund to pay for the items that you just mentioned.
Except for insurance.
There's an insurance expense.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but legislation changed and impacted the deductible and the premiums that we pay on insurance because of that required coverage for wind and hail events. That wasn't a part of that prior to 2 years ago, correct?
Right.
So insurance companies raised the price, and they were mandated school districts to cover additional insurance for wind and hail events.
That's correct.
So it's jumping quite a bit from 2026 to 2027.
It's a proposed, we have not completed it, it's a proposed. So there's more discussion to be had. Do you have any other comments?
Well, the enrollment on our new site says we have 1,700 kids. And whenever I come to the board meetings, it's 1,636 or something.
There are differences between certified and actual enrollment.
So they're probably 1,700 kids.
We certified 1,700 kids, 1,701 in October. Our served enrollment is at 1,648.
Seems confusing. There probably should be a line in there. Because it affects the credibility. You look at it and you go, there's 1,700 kids, and then the budget's showing less kids. And it's based on kids, right?
State funding is confusing, and the state imposes certified and actual, so we talk about both of them. Yes, we try to make sure that when we're talking, which one we're using and which one is impactful for financial.
Sure. All right, well, thank you. Sorry to make you mad.
Scott Pedler. Speaking on the insurance exposure, what is there a breakout for the central campus exposure that we took on versus the current buildings that we currently had previously to, and what the change of that is?
What are you asking for premium? What the premium is?
Well, yeah, you said our exposure goes up and it's 1%, and you've rolled that into an account to keep the deductible on wind and hail claim. I'm asking the buildings at Central Campus, how does that fit into that, and what is that exposure above what the needs of our actual buildings are?
I don't, we use management fund dollars to pay premium on property insurance at Central Campus.
But we had a big jump when we took on Central Campus with our insurance policy. And then we took on the 1% letdown from all insurance companies saying, hey, 1% is your deductible on wind and hail, correct?
Scott, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Do you know the premium for Central Campus?
Sure.
What's the insurance premiums just for Central?
I'd have to pull it up. I don't have that in front of me. No, I don't have it in front of me.
Can I say something real quick? The 1% is only looking at the most expensive building, which is the high school. So for the 1%, there is no additional,
It's not broke out by each individual building.
no, it's just the one most highest insured value building.
Okay.
So, keeping that in mind, if we had an event that came like and affected the middle school, Bain Allen, and the high school, it's 1% for each of those buildings. Correct?
Right.
So we could be looking at well over, I assume, $600,000 if you account for all three of those. And we're just looking at the management fund to see if we just want to cover 1% of one building, the most expensive, this one. Again, discussion that we're having, and we have had a little bit in the committee meetings of, do we want that money sitting in the bank for the ifs? Or do we want to wait and see if it happens, and then at that time, you can tax back or get that money back? But that's all discussion that's still happening. That money's not been put in that fund yet and just riding out until the if happens.
Gotcha, I understand that, and the other side that I was gonna bring up was the same thing that the gentleman before me was just saying, at some point in time, we have to have enough money in that to say, hey, we're not gonna tax anymore if we're not using it.
That's why we're going through this.
Is there a threshold to that number we're trying to get to?
What number?
Your 1% save back.
We want to make sure we have enough management fund balance to cover insurance premiums.
I understand insurance premiums.
Workman's compensation, any legal settlements that we might have. That's what the management fund is for.
I understand those needs. What I'm saying is the above and beyond that we're figuring for our deductible if we ever have to pay it. Is there ever a time that that's gonna be like, okay, we have enough money in here, we don't need to charge taxes to cover this deductible because we have this threshold met? Is there a
Yes,
threshold for that?
that's why you go through the budget process every year.
I'm just asking what the threshold is. Like, when is it going to stop of saying, hey, we still need another $360,000 or $360,000 this year?
Yeah.
What is that threshold?
I don't have that. That's a decision that the board will make.
But it's insurance premiums, that changes all the time.
You can leave it on, put it on the.
All right, hearing no other speakers, we will close our public hearing on the certified budget for fiscal year 27. Our next public hearing is the closure of Salem Elementary at the conclusion of the 2026-2027 school year. As a reminder for our school board policy 214, I guess you should have read that before the first one. Each speaker will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to address the board. We'll go on a timer. Please state your name again. Prior to speakers, we will present information. It is a public hearing, so we might not be able to answer all of your questions. We will not be having any discussion on this topic in our work session. The next conversations that the board will be having on the closure of Salem will happen at April committee meetings. Any comments by people other than the speaker will be out of order, and we may ask you to leave if you are out of order. John?
Okay, prior to the public hearing, I want to go through some data as I have over the last number of months at our regular board meetings regarding general fund financing. Again, all of these documents are available on the website for anybody who would like to look at them. So necessary general fund budget reductions. We're addressing the need for general fund reductions. There are a number of funds that a school district uses, the management fund being one that we were just talking about, completely separate from the general fund. There is the construction fund. Another name for that is the penny sales tax fund that we use for physical plant, equipment, computer leases, transportation. That is separate from the general fund. It cannot be used for general fund purposes. Management fund cannot be used for general fund purposes. The hot lunch fund, there's activity funds. We're talking tonight specifically about the general fund and the need to reduce our general fund expenditures. The general fund, the lion's share of the general fund expenditures are personnel, salaries and benefits, anything that's related to personnel. 80 to 85% of the general fund budget is personnel. Anything that's instruction related comes out of the general fund. Supplies, purchase services are general fund items. And there are also some operation things that come out of the general fund. Utilities, fuel. The general fund is your largest fund, around $26 million for Mount Pleasant. As already mentioned, there are other funds. These are not general funds. They can't be used in the same way. They're their own separate buckets. The construction fund or penny sales tax, as I mentioned. The fiscal plant and equipment fund can be used in the same way as the construction fund, the management fund that we just talked about, the hot lunch fund, and then the activities fund. So, based on local analysis and outside expert analysis, Mount Pleasant Community School District needs to reduce the general fund expenditures by $1.8 million over the next 2 years. As Board President Blint mentioned as well, that same analysis based on enrollment projections, the district should plan for $500,000 in general fund reductions through fiscal year 30. As I mentioned, in Iowa public school districts, the general fund is 80 to 85% of that general fund budget is spent on personnel. So when a district has to reduce its expenditures in the general fund by a significant amount, as Mount Pleasant does, we have to look at gaining staffing efficiencies in the general fund. Let's talk a little bit about how did we get here. I've covered this the last two board meetings, our regular board meetings. How did we get here? Well, there's not a single reason. There are really four. Low state supplemental aid increases. We're going to talk about each one of these separately. Low state supplemental aid increases, that's the amount of dollars that the state gives to school districts for each pupil. So low state aid. Declining enrollment is probably the biggest factor in the need to reduce our general fund expenditures. Increasing costs that the district doesn't control, health insurance costs, purchase services costs, all increasing. And then finally, the conclusion of federal funding. Those are the reasons that we need to reduce our general fund expenditures. Let's talk first about low state supplemental aid increases. This graph represents, starting in fiscal year 6, districts, basically you could expect about a 4% increase in per pupil dollars. We get to fiscal year 11, and we had a 2% increase, and then fiscal year 12, pop back up to 4% in fiscal year 15. And then you can see the state supplemental aid has been at 2%, 2.3%, 2.4%, 2.5%, 3%, and then 2.5% in fiscal year 25. It's 2% in fiscal year 26. Those increases have not been sufficient to offset increases in expenditures in the general fund, combined with declining enrollment, which is what we're going to look at next. I want to jump out of that so I can make this a bit bigger so people can see it. This is served enrollment, K to 2, in the classrooms. Back in fiscal year 7 and 8, Mount Pleasant peaked out in enrollment at 2,172 students. That's served enrollment. Those are kids in the classrooms. This does not include preschool students. We have not, we didn't have preschool back in 07, 08. So to stay consistent, this graph represents kindergarten through 12th grade enrollment in the classrooms. Served enrollment, not certified enrollment, served enrollment. So you can see the peak here. And in fiscal 26, this fall, served enrollment, K-12, 1,648 students.
Can you explain the difference between served and certified, just so we have an understanding of that?
Served enrollment are the kids that you're serving. Those are the ones that are in your classrooms every day. Certified enrollment, one of the lion's share parts of certified enrollment would be kids that are open enrolled out of a school district. So you're counting them because you're getting the funding for them, and then that funding gets passed on to the district that's serving them. So that's really the big difference in certified and served. That's enrollment. That was the so low state supplemental aid, declining enrollment. Increased costs that the district doesn't control. You have health insurance costs, utilities, transportation, fuel, other contracted services. The district doesn't control those, and the increases that happen there, one fiscal year to the next. Finally, the conclusion of federal funding. From fiscal year 21 through fiscal year 24, Mount Pleasant Community School District received just over $4 million in federal, elementary, and secondary school emergency relief dollars. They were called ESSER dollars. It's COVID relief dollars, COVID funding. The amounts were based on Title I eligibility, and Mount Pleasant received just over $4 million in federal funding. So, at that time, Mount Pleasant added or maintained staff to support our students during the COVID pandemic. Those staff were supported by the federal funds, and those funds have ended. We kept teaching staff on. We added guidance services. We added social services, and we added health services to meet the needs of our students. Fiscal year 21 to 24. The conclusion of those dollars was fiscal year 24. The need to reduce general fund expenditures. It's not unique to Mount Pleasant. Again, I've said before, if you listen to the news, you watch your social media, there certainly are a number of districts who, for these same reasons, are reducing their general fund expenditures. Let's talk about enrollment again. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. In 2007 and 2008, again, I use that as a reference point because that's when Mount Pleasant, that was our peak enrollment during that time. At that time in 07, 08, you had Oskaloosa. These are the enrollments. All of this can be found on the Iowa Department of Education website under pre-K-12 education statistics. That's where all this comes from. So you have Oskaloosa, Knoxville, and then you have schools that are in our same athletic conference. Go to this slide. These are the same schools in the fall of 2025 served enrollment, K-12. Oskaloosa down 405, Knoxville down 407, Fairfield down 433, Keokuk down 524, Mount Pleasant down 524, Fort Madison down 558, and Burlington down 1,305. I will say as well, if you go back further, because there are times that I've used the 1999-2000 school year as a point of reference, because that's when we went into the attendance center configuration that we are currently in. And if you go back from that time, several of our conference schools, Fairfield, Keokuk, have shrunk. If you go back another 7-8 years, they've shed 700 and 800 served students, not the 400 they were shedding students prior to that. So the need to reduce general fund expenditures. I'll make this bigger as well. All of this information can be found from the Department of Management website. The maximum district dollars, miscellaneous income, instructional support levy, preschool foundation aid, that makes up your revenue for a fiscal year. Okay? So I won't go through every fiscal year, but let's just talk about how this reads. Fiscal year 19, your max district dollars, miscellaneous income, instructional support, and preschool foundation aid, the total revenue for fiscal year 19, $22,340,149. That's Mount Pleasant Community School District. These are our numbers. At that time, we had unspent authorized budget authority of $4,087,000. You add those two together, and you've got maximum spending authority of $26,427,641. In that year, fiscal year 19, our total expenditures from the general fund, $21,859,451. So in that fiscal year, we spent 97.8% of our revenue, of our general fund revenue. If you spend less than you take in, your unspent authorized budget, which is your spending authority, it grows. It grows by that amount, and it grows year over year if you're spending less than you're taking in. So again, philosophically, we serve students. We want to be spending about what we take in, and that's what we have done over the years. Again, this is fiscal year 19. I'm sliding over. This is fiscal year 20. We spent 98% of our revenue our unspent authorized budget grew to just short of $5 million. Just continuing over, fiscal year 21, fiscal year 22, we spent 99.14% of our revenue. Fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. If you do take a look at these documents, you will see that our miscellaneous income over those years was growing, because that's where the ESSER dollars were accounted for, is miscellaneous income. So in fiscal year 24, we spent 97.6% of our revenue. Our unspent authorized budget was $6.9 million. At that point, or prior to that point, we had been talking as a board in our finance committee meetings, talking about the end of the federal funding, the finance, the fiscal cliff, as some talked about it, that was going to need to be addressed. We talked about it regularly in our monthly meetings. The decision was made with an unspent authorized budget of $6.9 million, which was 27% of that current year's revenue. The decision was, let's spend that down. Let's spend that down, even though our revenues, we have the spending authority, maybe not that revenue, but let's go ahead and spend that down. So in fiscal year 25, we spent 103% of our general fund revenues and reduced our unspent authorized budget to $6.185 million. We're estimating that in fiscal year 26, the year that we're in, we're going to spend 104% of our revenue, taking our unspent authorized budget down to $5.15 million. These are estimates. These estimates are based on a reduction of an enrollment decline of 35 students each year. That's looking back historically at our the enrollment decline that we've had, and an increase in expenditures of 2%. So with those two things in mind, in fiscal year 27, with no changes to spending, we'll spend 106, almost 107% of our general fund revenue. And then if you take that out one more year to fiscal year 28 and apply the same things, a enrollment reduction of 35 students, 2% increase in expenditures, 2% state supplemental aid, by fiscal year 28, we're spending 110% of our general fund revenue. And your unspent authorized budget goes down very quickly. 3.4 million down to 1.1 million. So let me go to this, general fund forecasting with reductions. Click on that and I'll make this bigger as well so you can see it. Everything is the same numbers in those fiscal years. Oops, sorry. Again, fiscal year 26, without any changes from 24 to 25, 25 to 26, no staffing changes, we didn't make we didn't make staffing adjustments. We've been very open about that, very upfront about that, and why we did that. So that's fiscal 24 to 25 to 26. The board at our last meeting approved phase 1 of general fund reductions. I'll go down here. This is budget reductions. What this is reflecting is budget reductions of $985,000 for fiscal year 27. You might say, why is that different from the phase 1 of 940 that the 940,000 that we talked about last 2 weeks ago? We've had some personnel movement. We can capture some additional savings. So this reflects $985,000 for fiscal year 27. It reflects $815,000 for fiscal year 28. It also assumes a 2% increase in expenditures each year, 2% SSA, and assumes a 35 student decrease for fiscal year 28. So fiscal year 27, with those reductions in place, phase 1, we bring our spend down to 102.68% of general fund revenue. And with phase 2, in fiscal year 28, we bring our spend down back to just over, about 102%, but far less than the 110% without any reductions. So this is what we talked about for the last few months, a framework for reductions, a two-phase approach. Phase 1, for 26-27, fiscal year 27, approximately $985,000 in general fund reductions. Again, I'll share it again. We've had some personnel movement. We were able to capture some additional savings. So that's gone to $985,000. That would include staffing reductions, reassignments, programming reductions, purchase service reductions, and attendance center consolidation. It's closing the Wisdom Quest site and bringing Wisdom Quest into the high school. (27-28) phase 2, fiscal year 28, approximately $815,000 in general fund reductions. That's staffing reductions, reassignments, and attendance center consolidation, the closure of Salem Elementary. Sorry. Let me make this bigger as well. This was a document put together at our February 23 work session. We had Tim Oswald from Piper Sandler that does school financing speak to the board. We had Ken Sturgis with Iowa School Finance Information Systems speak to the board. They ran their models in their program, and that recommended for fiscal year 27 a $1.3 million reduction in general fund expenditures. And then each year after that, again based on their expenditures in their model were a little bit higher. They went with 2.34% in their expenditure increases. Still, the model was a decline in enrollment of 35 students each year. I told you, board members, that once you get out more than a couple of years in school financing, it becomes a lot harder to predict what's going to happen. And that's why we focused on a phase 1 and a phase 2. In their model, they were suggesting a $500,000 reduction in general fund expenditures each year. You can also see in their model here, unspent authorized budget. By the time you get out to fiscal year 29, you are at 0 unspent authorized budget. Now the figures that I shared earlier are a bit different because they did the $1.3 million on the front end. We are in a two-phase approach, and we're not taking as much off on the front end at $985,000. Okay, phase 2 reductions. I want to talk about phase 2 reductions. As part of those reductions, system-wide, we would look at $290,000. Most of that is staffing reductions. And then the closure of Salem Elementary, $523,656. And I will open this up and show you how we come to that figure. Again, I will tell you that all of this is available on the website. So Salem Elementary, the budgeted amounts in, well, I'm going to go over here. Let's start with personnel. We'll start with personnel. So this is personnel totals. Here on this side, $706,627 for fiscal year 26. The way we built our estimate was minimally a reduction of 4 certified staff. It depends on how many sections the board would like to see at the other buildings. How many sections do you want? Would you prefer 5 sections or 6 sections? This represents 6 sections at every grade level. So you'd have a savings of about $288,000. Certified teaching staff. The rest of this represents non-certified personnel, paraeducator, custodial, secretary, for a personnel total of $435,686. From there, we went to related expenses in the general fund, from travel to instructional supplies, non-instructional supplies, special education supply. All of that, again, is there. You can take a look at it. That budgeted total of just about $100,000. And we did account for the fact that some of those costs are going to shift. You're not going to get rid of all of those costs. So we looked at each one of those line items and came up with additional savings of just about $88,000. $435,686 in personnel, $87,970 in other related general fund expenditures. That's how we come up with the total of $523,656 estimated closure savings. total for phase two, $813,656. Total for phase one and phase two, $1,798,656. Right at that $1.8 million that we were looking to reduce. So let's talk about the rationale for the closure of Salem Elementary. That gives you what we just went through, gives you the broader picture, the bigger picture of the general fund, the need to reduce the general fund. What then is the rationale in phase two for the closure of Salem Elementary? I want to look at four things: enrollment, section sizes, cost per student, and functional space. Let's take a look at enrollment. I will jump out of that so I can make it a bit bigger. Again, this goes back to, again, 07, 08, and I'll zoom back out so you can see the whole graph. 105 served students. This is served enrollment, K through 5. 105, 106, jumped up to 127. As you pull back, you can see in 2011, 120, 113, 94, 106, 104, 114, 105, 2019. 110, 103, 92, 97, 92, 86, and this year in 2025, the 25-26 school year, 87 students at Salem Elementary. Let me go back to the graph so you can see what it looks like. What's the makeup of that enrollment? The blue represents resident enrollment. The orange represents open enrolled in. In 2019, the way you read this, 82 resident students, 25 open enrolled students. Add the two together for the total. 2019, 2020, and to this year, 68 resident students, 19 open enrolled. So we've talked about enrollment. Let's talk about section sizes. These are across the district. These are elementary section sizes. I'll make this bigger as well. These are kindergarten sections. Right now, there are 6 sections of kindergarten at Harlan Elementary. 18, 17, 18, 18 students, 18, 18, and 13 at Salem. No, I didn't put the total in. First grade, let's see the numbers. 6 sections in first grade in Mount Pleasant. 14 at Salem. Second grade, there are 5 sections in Mount Pleasant. See the numbers going across there. And again, what we're talking about is section sizes, so 12 students in Salem. Third grade, 6 sections in Mount Pleasant. Excuse me, 5 sections in Mount Pleasant. That's why there's not a 6th section. Thank you. Second grade, third grade. And Salem. Fourth grade, in Salem. Fifth grade, 20, 20, 19, 21, 19, 20, and 15. We're talking about the rationale for closing Salem Elementary. Cost per student. These are general fund per student expenditures. This is year 2021. Salem Elementary in 2021. The per student expenditures were the highest in the district, $10,651. 21-22, Salem Elementary, the highest per pupil expenditures, $11,427. 22-23, per student expenditures at Salem, $12,124. 23-24, $11,545 at Salem Elementary. In 24-25, our first year in grade alike, Harlan had the highest per pupil expenditures, $13,798. There's 6 sections of kindergarten in Harlan, and then the preschool is at Harlan, but those students are counted at 0.5. And then Salem, $12,857 per student expenditure in the general fund. The cost per student. A cost per student of all funds, not just the general fund, can be found by going to the Iowa School Performance Profile. If you want to see the cost for all funds, general, management, hot lunch, all of the funds that we've talked about, you can go to the Iowa School Performance Profile. You click on Other Metrics. It will give you the per pupil expenditures. This is the most recent that is available in the Iowa School Performance Profile. Again, the way that you read this is the name of the school. Average daily membership. Total per pupil expenditures. Expenditures that are personnel related. Expenditures that are non-personnel related. And then this side is revenue. What are the revenue sources? State supplemental aid, is it federal dollars? And then gives you a total of other district expenditures. So if that can be found by going to the Iowa School Performance Profiles, click on the building that you want, other metrics, per pupil expenditures. Functional space. Square footage by elementary building, Van Allen is our biggest building, 39,550 square feet. Then Harlan, then Lincoln Elementary, and Salem, 13,617 square feet. What are the estimated section sizes with the closure of Salem Elementary? If you're combining section sizes. If you use current numbers and matriculate to next year, 26-27, the kindergarten total for the district of 95 students, if you put those students in 6 sections, you're at 15 to 16 students per section. If you do that same number with 5 sections, you're at 19 students per section. That's the first part of this spreadsheet, is if that was done for next year. That is not what we're considering. That's not what's been proposed. I wanted you to see the numbers. If you move out to 2027, 28, estimated elementary grade level numbers, you're just matriculating 2 grade levels now. You don't know what the preschool numbers would be. You don't know what the kindergarten numbers would be. But again, those same numbers in 27, 28, you'd have 95 students in first grade, 6 sections. You'd be at 15, 16 students per section. If you ran it to 5 sections, you'd be at 19. Very manageable numbers. At 6 sections, 18 and 19 per section with 6. Manageable numbers with 5 sections at each of those grade levels. Closing Salem Elementary will have a negligible effect on section sizes. So to wrap this up and to go to our public hearing, there were a number of questions that came following a public records request that I want to make sure that we address. All of these documents in their entirety are on the website. Number 1, the district's closure cost analysis identifies $523,656 in annual savings from closing Salem Elementary. Please provide a line-by-line breakdown of that figure showing specifically what positions will be eliminated versus reassigned. If you want to take a look at that, you can go back to slide 24 and click on that attachment, or click on the link. Number 2, of the staff currently employed at Salem Elementary, how many will be laid off as a result of closure, and how many will be transferred to another district building? If staff are transferred rather than eliminated, how does that transfer generate the savings claimed? Number 2, the savings model assumes a reduction of 4 certified teaching staff, as I mentioned, and then also a reduction of non-certified personnel and a reduction of other related general fund expenditures that we already looked at. Number 3, the general fund expenditure data shows Salem's total school-wide budget at approximately $706,000. That was just personnel. Yet the stated closure savings is $523,656. What accounts for the roughly $183,000 difference, and where do these costs go after closure? Number 3, The model assumes $523,656 as a conservative estimate of actual savings, and acknowledging that some of those funds or some of those expenditures will transfer, they will shift. And that was built into the model, to the estimates. Number 4, has the district produced any document that compares the cost of repairing and maintaining Salem Elementary against the projected savings from closing it? If so, please provide that document. If not, please explain why the comparison was never made prior to the board considering closure. Number 4, this general fund reduction process that we're discussing, that we're talking about, has nothing to do with any repair or maintenance issues at any of our buildings. Those are 2 separate things, as we already talked about. We're talking about general fund versus other funds, PEPL, penny, that are used for those kinds of things. These are general fund reductions that we're considering. Number 5, the 2021 facility assessment identified numerous deficiencies at Salem Elementary, but explicitly states that no contractor bids, quotes, or cost estimates were ever obtained for repairs. How can the board make a financially sound closure decision without knowing what it would actually cost to repair the building? Will the district obtain repair cost estimates before the closure vote? Number 5, again, this general fund reduction process has nothing to do with any repair or maintenance issues. Number 6, what is the projected annual cost to transport Salem Elementary students to receiving buildings after closure? And was that cost factored into the net savings calculation? Please provide the transportation cost analysis. Number 6, there are no expected changes in transportation costs. We will send our buses out to residences just like we always do. They would come to town just like they always do. They all come to the middle school after they have picked up students on their routes. There's not any expected transportation changes in costs. Number 7, Salem's high cost per pupil figure is central to the financial argument for closure. How much of that premium is attributed or attributable to fixed overhead costs, such as the building principal, custodial staff, utilities, kitchen staff, that exist regardless of enrollment size? How much of that overhead is truly eliminated versus redistributed to other buildings upon closure? Number 7, Salem Elementary's high cost per pupil is attributable to 1.0 FTE at each grade level, serving low section sizes and the lack of efficiencies. That is what attributes to the higher costs per pupil. The savings model assumes both the elimination of positions and transfer. Number 8, the Piper-Sandler model and IFSIS consultants reportedly recommended $1.8 million in general fund reductions. Was a written report produced by those consultants? If so, please provide it. The document was not included in the public records response I received on March 13, 2026. Number 8, the Piper-Sandler model. The Piper-Sandler reduction, I would say, and the IFSIS, Iowa School Finance Services. The Piper-Sandler reduction recommendations were live streamed during the February 23rd special session public meeting. You can go back to slide 23 in this presentation to look at those recommendations. Number 9, the district's enrollment projections have previously underestimated actual enrollment. For example, The projection for 2024-2025 was 1,709, but actual enrollment came in at 1,757. What is the margin of error in the projections being used to justify this closure? And has the board considered the financial implications if enrollment stabilizes or declines more slowly than projected? Number 9, the district is using enrollment projections provided by the Iowa Department of Education. They can be found by going to the Iowa Department of Education pre-K through 12 enrollment statistics, or data and statistics. We used their formula. No margin of error was assumed or applied in the projections. Number 10. Number 10. Has the district studied whether closing Salem Elementary could accelerate enrollment loss by causing Salem area families to open and enroll their children in neighboring districts? If so, please share that analysis. If not, please explain why that risk was not evaluated. Number 10. There's no way to predict with accuracy the education decision of families. Salem area preschool students currently attend Harlan Elementary. Number 11. The facility assessment of Salem Elementary was conducted in the summer and fall of 2021, more than 4 years ago. Has any updated assessment been conducted since that time? If not, please explain why a 4-year-old assessment is considered a sufficient basis for a permanent closure decision. Number 11, as mentioned, this general fund reduction process has nothing to do with any repair or maintenance issues. Number 12, the 2021 facility assessment notes that Salem's HVAC was upgraded with new units and that classroom electric heat units were recently replaced at the time of the assessment. Given that recent capital investment, what is the district's current estimate of the building's remaining useful life if properly maintained? Number 12, installation of that equipment was done in the summer of 2018. It was 15-year equipment, so the remaining lifespan is approximately 7 to 8 years. Number 13, several deficiencies noted in the 2021 assessment, such as missing grab bars, exterior ceiling, grease interceptor installation, appear to be routine maintenance items rather than major capital expenditures. Has the district distinguished between deferred routine maintenance and major structural deficiencies? If so, what are the estimated costs in each category? Again, number 13, this general fund reduction process does not have anything to do with any repair or maintenance issues. Number 14, the board voted on March 9 to set the public hearing for March 23, just 14 days later. The Iowa Department of Education's own guidance recommends sufficient notice and timeline for the public to meaningfully participate in decisions of this magnitude. Was this timeline reviewed with legal counsel for adequacy, and does the board consider 14 days sufficient for affected families to prepare and respond? Number 14, while a public hearing regarding this issue is not required, 14 days notice meets the Iowa law requirements of not fewer than 10 days and not more than 20. Number 15, at what point were Salem Elementary's families formally notified that closure was being actively studied and that a vote on a public hearing date was imminent? Was that notification made before or after the March 5 committee meetings where the Phase 1 and Phase 2 reductions were first discussed? Number 15. The first time Salem Elementary closure was part of a meeting document was the March 5 Site Committee meeting. Consolidation of attendance centers has been discussed for more than a year. Number 16. The Iowa Department of Education recommends following the Barker guidelines even though they are no longer legally required. Step 4 of those guidelines requires consideration of transportation costs, program offerings, and staff assignment in addition to financial and enrollment data. And the superintendent confirmed that each of those elements was formally studied. If so, please provide those documents as they were not included in the public records response I received. Number 16. The Barker guidelines are not a requirement. Mount Pleasant Community School District Legal Counsel recommended following the intent of the guidelines, including sufficient notice, timeline, financial enrollment studies, and a public meeting where the information is shared. Number 17, what is the board's stated timeline for a closure vote? Will there be any additional opportunity for public input between tonight's hearing and that vote? Number 17, school board agenda action items are determined by the school board president. Number 18, the board approved Phase 1 budget reductions on March 9 by a 4-2 vote with 2 board members dissenting. Phase 2, which includes Salem's closure, is presented as a continuation of that plan. Will the board formally consider alternatives to closure as part of Phase 2 deliberations, or has the decision to close Salem Elementary effectively already been made? Number 18, the board has full fiduciary responsibility to consider how to best meet the financial obligations of the school district. Number 19, Salem students would be assigned to buildings some distance from the Salem community. What's the estimated one-way travel time for Salem students to each receiving building? And has the district evaluated the age-appropriate impact on young children, particularly kindergartners and first graders of extended daily commute? Number 19, consideration of increased travel times. Increased or decreased travel times have been considered. Approximate increase could be 15 to 20 minutes. Decreased times could be approximately 10 minutes. In all cases, the district must adhere to Department of Education travel time regulations, 60 minutes for elementary students, 75 minutes for secondary students. Number 20. Salem Elementary serves a rural community with limited private transportation options. Has the district assessed how many Salem families do not have reliable personal transportation and would be entirely dependent on district busing after closure? What is the plan to ensure those families are not disadvantaged? Number 20. While the district has not considered the individual circumstances of each family, all Department of Education transportation requirements and obligations will continue to be met. And number 21, please confirm capacity at each receiving building to absorb these students and their associated service needs. Capacity of receiving buildings can be found on slide number 39. Combining sections will have a negligible effect on section sizes. In consideration of this issue, I do think it's important for the board of directors to consider, does the board of directors intend to ensure the continued operation of an elementary school in the town of Salem regardless of circumstances, regardless of enrollment, regardless of spending? Is the closure of Salem Elementary completely off the table? That's a board consideration and a board decision, obviously. I will say that if that is the case, then reductions will have to be made in other areas. So what's the cost? What would that look like? This would be my attempt at about $800,000, $815,000, and trying to stay as far away from student instruction as possible without closing Salem Elementary. You'd need to reduce another 11 certified staff. Teacher leadership and compensation would be an area that you'd have to look at. The effects of that would be a direct loss of teacher, both beginning and veteran teacher supports. It would have a direct effect on the district leadership team and the collaborative team process. You'd have to look at intervention supports that are currently in place. That would have a direct effect on less than proficient learners. I think you'd have to look at a program like IJAG, which would have a direct effect on students. You'd need to look at your CTE programming, the 4 strands that we're currently required to offer, and how we could combine strands to make sure that we're meeting the Department of Education requirement. One way. There may be other ways, but that's how I would consider an additional $815,000 in reductions. Finally, just a couple of things that I think need to be addressed as comments, and I do want to respond because I think it's important. Closing remarks in response to comments. You should have never purchased the old Iowa Wesleyan University Central Campus. We don't even have kids there. The purchase of Central Campus was done using construction funds, unrelated to the general fund budget reduction process. So whether or not you agree or disagree with the district purchasing $40 million of facilities for $1.1 million, the fact is that we have kids there all the time. It's the current home of Wisdom Quest. We host events there regularly. It's practice space that we never had that serves kids much better. Hundreds, probably thousands of students have been better served through the use of Central Campus. Central Office and the Homeschool Assistance Program will be moving there this summer, saving approximately $60,000 in lease costs. And finally, the comment, why is it always Salem? The facts show otherwise. Salem Elementary has maintained an uninterrupted K-5 program without reductions, no matter the enrollment or the section sizes. Grade levels at other elementary buildings have been reduced based on enrollment. Teaching staff and other and other teaching staff at other attendance centers, all attendance centers, have been reduced relative to enrollment declines. Reductions to the general fund over the past 10 years have come from other areas, other buildings, and not Salem Elementary. So as we head into the public hearing, I would once again just state to the board members, does the board of directors intend to ensure the continued operation of an elementary school in the town of Salem regardless of circumstances? Because if that's the case, we'll have to look at reductions in different areas.
I'll reiterate what Mark said at the last meeting, is that nothing is off the table, and we are still set on looking at anything that is proposed. That is our job as board members and the fiduciary responsibility that comes with being a board director.
I agree with that statement. Everything is on the table currently.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Does the board have any other statements prior to the beginning of the public hearing? I'll reiterate that we will have a 3-minute timer. When you come up to the microphone, please state your name, and then we will begin with your 3 minutes.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to take an Obscene Profit Center break and be right back. Pfeiffer Sawmill, your local home for kiln-dried lumber and affordable trailer decking to your specifications. All in Rome, Iowa, serving Mount Pleasant and all surrounding areas. Do you like to throw a hatchet? They've got your board. Call Ben today at 319-931-4544. Sanity. It comes in handy when you need it, and Sanity Coffee House will serve it up through coffee and pastry like God intended. If the beans were any fresher, you'd smack them. Sanity is home of the Mad Cow and Caramel Knowledge. Low on energy? Try their Lotus drinks. Special frappes and iced coffees await. Hungry? Go for a whole hog or a porcalypse, and a mac and cheese wrap will satisfy. Always high-speed Wi-Fi, so pull in and get your Sanity at 104 South Iris Street, Mount Pleasant, Iowa.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Kellen Gracie. I'm from Mount Pleasant. I actually have 2 questions, one a little more practical, one a little more theoretical. One practical question, what happens if the UAB hits 0 or goes below 0? Is that something that is a statutory thing that kicks in, or does the school district take on debt? Could you explain that a little bit more, the implications of that UAB number going down beyond 2028? I think it's your projection.
Just in a quick, if you go in the negative, the state takes over your school district and controls your spending.
So it's really bad?
Yes.
Okay, the other question I had is more theoretical. Do any of you have any idea what the rate increase for the SSA, what it could have been to forego this problem? Do you know what that number, do you have an estimate? Like, if it would have been this, we would have been okay? That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Dr. Brad Buck, current superintendent for Waukee School District, submitted an article in the Des Moines Register. He ran numbers, and Senator Kornbach, who is an active senator in the House Senate, ran similar numbers and coincided with him in this article and said that due to the December REC recommendations for projections of 4.6% state GDP growth, the state could afford a 4.66% SSA increase and not lose out on money. Now, the March REC projections came in worse than the December ones, but those were the only numbers that were run in any type of public fashion that I know
So 4.66 probably the ceiling. What was the rate increase?
of. It was 2%.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leva Shinstock. I'm a third grader at Salem Elementary. My parents are Kurt and Emily Shinstock. There are 3 things I want to share with you about why I don't want Salem to close. First, even though my brother drives me nuts, I still want to be in the same building as him. Number 2, I love all the teachers because they are all very nice to me. Number 3, I love that my school is very close to my house. I want to thank everybody for fighting for my school, especially my mom and dad. Thank you for giving me this time to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Dickinson.
Believe it or not, that was actually his idea. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kurt Shinstock. My wife, myself, and a group of concerned parents have been coming to the board for quite some time now with our concerns. We have been respectful and civil throughout this process. But tonight, there are some things that need to be said, things that everyone needs to hear. So, how did we get to this? John, I would blame most of it on enrollment. What's causing our enrollment to go down, in your opinion?
You have 3 minutes, so we don't have to respond
Okay,
as part of
that's
the
fine,
public
don't
hearing.
respond. On the radio,
I'm happy to respond.
come on,
You can respond.
I'm politely here.
As you can see with the data that I shared, this is a Southeast Iowa region issue. That's the data that I shared from every one of our school districts, our conference schools, Knoxville, Oskaloosa.
Okay,
This is a
but
Southeast Iowa. You asked
okay.
me, Kurt.
None of the bordering schools, but let's just move on so you're wasting more time of everybody's tonight. You have said time and time again, the main enrollment reason or decline is childbirths and less people in the district. You even said it on the radio the other day. But this is how I'm confused. On March 13th, you received a formal public records requesting under the Iowa Code 22. One of the things was enrollment data. The documents were given to me, and this is where I get confused. One of the main reasons, but in the documents received from that request under enrollment data, there was only one document that had anything to do with childbirths. And you've been telling everybody that it's declining. You said it on the radio the other day, but it's actually trending upwards and increasing in our district. Why is our enrollment still going down? And why are you lying to the board and the public about something as minuscule as the fact that children aren't being born versus being born?
That data is from the Iowa State Data Center. I didn't manipulate any data. It's all from the Iowa State Data Center.
But you have stated that childbirths are to blame for
Anybody can go on the Iowa State Data Center. You can Google it. You can look for Henry County. You can look for townships in Henry County.
Okay. It just bothers me that that's not even been a concern. Just the fact that our enrollment is declining, even though birth rates in the district are trending upward, worries me. And if space is such a concern that we have hired people to draw buildings for us, why are we even considering overburdening our already congested schools?
You have 10 seconds.
Chip kids of Salem, since you're being neglected or not letting you go there, save the money, you can still cut the teachers.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Scott Fedler. Thanks, Kurt. You did a great job. As far as schools around us having a decline, I've got some numbers here from schools really close by, and everybody seems to be going up from 2017 year to 2018. As far as New London, in 2017 and 18, they had 528 kids. They currently have 565 kids. Waco, 2017-18, 469 kids. Currently, 509. Central Lee, 1,111 kids. Currently, 1,196 kids. Van Buren, 673 kids. Sorry, my phone went blank. And now, at 23-24, 804 kids. Mount Pleasant seems to be the only one right by us that is going down. And a lot of those kids have open enrolled those areas, which we have seen numbers on from our school district going out. Now, do you think by closing Salem, you're going to retain half the kids that we have coming into our school open enrolled? And do you think any of our current students are going to leave? Because I can tell you right now, mine will not be coming here.
I'm Callie Watson. I want to start by saying that in no way me advocating for Salem is to say that I do not think that the Mount Pleasant Elementary Schools do a fantastic job. I'm proud of our schools, I'm proud of our district, and just because I'm an advocate for Salem does not diminish the value that I see in the rest of our staff and buildings. I have a daughter in Harlan, and she's had a phenomenal preschool experience. I do want to say that I'm slightly concerned with the numbers that have been previously presented to us all. Due to limited time, I'm just going to give a quick couple examples here, but a quick reference of the mowing cost. We said that we spent $12,592, and in speaking with someone who's historically done this on the highest year typically has never been over $4,000. I'm just concerned at why there could be such a discrepancy that then poorly reflects on where we stand. In addition, it states that we've spent $1,800 on a book fair fundraiser that's ran mostly by volunteers. It seems odd to me that any sort of loss could occur from a fundraising event. These are just a couple small examples that tell me we need to look more closely at how these numbers are truly reflective of Salem, while also considering the impact of potential enrollment decline like Scott just mentioned. I really think we're underestimating the potential for growth within Salem if we supported the culture behind that. There's no question that the more doubt we put into families about the sustainability of Salem, the more the enrollment is going to decline, as we've already seen. If we're promoting all the wonderful things about our district and the benefits of all our schools and offering, do we still think we would continue to see the decline that we are, while we're seeing the smaller districts increase in their enrollment? Let's use Salem as an opportunity to enhance enrollment instead of just focusing on a doom and gloom of it's just going to be a continual decline. We have an opportunity. The potential is there, but it will never be there without the culture of support from the district as a whole. We've already lost many families from enrolling into our special school because of the uncertainty of its future, which ultimately means they've likely left our district forever. I really hope you'll consider that there are many other ways that we can look at this. As I previously mentioned to many of you, how about consolidating Mount Pleasant schools, the elementary schools adding additional space, or refining that space to meet the needs? How about portable buildings like cardinal uses? How about solar panels to be more efficient? It feels like there's gotta be other ways that keep us from in one breath saying we don't have enough money and enrollment is declining, and then in the next saying we need more space and new buildings. I know there's a way for us to work together to create the learning environments needed that can be achieved without the closure of our beloved school.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Whitney Barton Shahan. I'm a graduate from Mount Pleasant Community School District. My grandfather was a graduate in 1950. Both my parents, both my siblings, and all 11 of my aunts and uncles graduated from Mount Pleasant. I've lived in this community my entire life, up until 7 years ago. when my husband and I moved to Houghton, we have 2 children that attend Salem. It was a no-brainer when our oldest came time to go to school where to send him. Salem, so he could be a Panther. If you're not familiar with the unique demographic where I live in Houghton, there are 5 different schools that bus children to and from my area. 1 being Mount Pleasant, Central Lee, Fort Madison, Keokuk, and Holy Trinity. We open enroll in this school district. We are not unique to Salem. 22% of Salem Elementary includes open enrollment kids. Are you willing to lose the kids from the rural areas? Because you'll lose mine. We've done a lot of our own research, and out of the parents that we have reached out to and got back from, K through 4, 88% said they would be seeking other options outside of our district if Salem Stores closes. These reasons range from location, lack of trust, and loss of community. Speaking of lack of trust, kind of hit on it, but it still doesn't make sense to me. We have been told recently that there is not enough room for our own students that are in Mount Pleasant right now. Why are we saying right now we can accumulate 87 more kids? How is that even possible? So would you be distrustful? I mean, what are we gonna do if we find out there really isn't room and it's too late? We already have all these kids that we shipped to Mount Pleasant. So my most valid point that I want to point out here is that this decision should not be pushed by Mr. Henriksen before he leaves. This is not his problem after July. This is just one more piece our district is going to have to pick up in his absence. And I heard Mrs. Dentlinger say, and I really appreciate this, I would like to remind all these board members, you work for us. You're here to work for us. You are here to work for us. I appreciate your eyes. I appreciate you listening to us. I really do. But I think we have gotten so far away from listening to the community that you're just willing to do whatever whoever is in charge says.
Hello, my name is Heidi Schilling. I'm going to be really quick, I promise. Just so you guys know, I am 3rd generation fighting to keep Salem School open. So it is not something new to Salem. My mom did it, and my grandma did it, and now I'm here fighting for my kids as well. If you go back to slide 26, I just have one really quick question on that. It said in there, it was the physical report card. On that spreadsheet, it says that the revenue source for Salem Elementary is the 2nd highest out of all the other schools. So I guess I'm wondering why you're wanting to close a school that is your 2nd highest revenue in the school district. Just kind of think about that before you guys make your decision.
Hello, I am Shelby Nickteen, a former student of the Mount Pleasant Community School District and a proud mother of 3, 14, 8, and 4. Both my husband and I are graduates of this district, and we are proud supporters. We want nothing more than to continue to have our children be a part of this district. Salem Elementary is an important part of our children's education because it is in our community, our home, and where our kids' childhood education is currently thriving. And I am here today because I choose this district for my children, because I hope that this district values our communities collectively enough to hear us out. One quote that I wanted to provide is, quote, "We are proud to work in partnership with families, staff, and the broader community to foster a culture of respect, compassion, innovation, and lifelong learning." This is a quote from our district website, which I love. And I hope that these words stand true. I hope that you can see the support that we are trying to show and to give the district, to hear our concerns and suggestions and to work together in partnership
with us. That you don't see our concerns as attacks, because that is the furthest from our honest intentions here. If we love this district and loved our kids being a part of it, why would we fight against it? It just doesn't make any sense, because it's simply not the case. We may have rightful concerns because it does affect our children and our families. But we are here today to work with you, not against you. If you will please hear us out. I personally went to Carlin Elementary, and I love the small neighborhood community feel there as well. So I have nothing bad to say or feel towards the elementary buildings here in Mount Pleasant at all. I guess my biggest point here is this shouldn't be a fight, this should be a discussion. Another quote I'd like to leave everyone with is, at Mount Pleasant Community School District, our greatest strength lies in the partnership between our schools, families, and communities. And these words are quoted by our superintendent that I agree with wholeheartedly, but only if there is truly a partnership within our communities, family, and all of our schools. I am standing here today simply standing up for my children's hometown elementary education, hoping that our efforts can make even the slightest difference. This isn't just a building that is in consideration to be closed. This is the heart of our community. It affects our businesses, our families, and overall it does affect our district. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Hoyer. My husband and I are proud parents to 4 children, an 8-year-old and 5-year-old who attend Salem Elementary, and a set of twins that are future Panthers. We believe there are practical alternatives that deserve careful consideration. Transportation adjustments alone could reduce some disruption and pressure that in-town schools have communicated they are limited on space. Why not encourage more families to consider sending their students to Salem? Promote this opportunity within the district. It would be far easier than displacing 87 students into already constrained in-town schools. District videos and communications have acknowledged limited space in those buildings. Adding more students would only increase pressure on class sizes, staff, and resources when we have already eliminated roughly 10 staffing positions with phase 1 and projected additional staff cuts with phase 2. So we are taking more away from them, but also giving them more to balance. This is an interesting option, but can we look at a 4-day-a-week school week? This would help with staff recruitment, retention of staff, less transportation needs, student-teacher morale, students seeking our district, scheduling flexibility. Most districts that have done this report a 1 to 3% of a total budget savings. The proposed closure of Salem Elementary School is not just a logistical decision. It is a decision that will shape the heart of our community. Salem consistently provides meaningful benefits to the district, including strong student engagement and community involvement. Closing this school would create significant ripple effects. With the very near transition of new district leadership coming into place, we believe it is both reasonable and responsible to pause. A decision of this magnitude deserves a comprehensive review that considers not only financial factors, but also student outcomes, community impact, and long-term district goals. This was brought to the board's attention on March 5th, just 18 days ago. We believe in this school district. We enjoy the Panther community. Our request is simple. Take the time to get this right. We respectfully ask the school board to delay any final decision. Specifically to the board president, don't move forward with adding this to the agenda to vote. Please allow the incoming superintendent to evaluate and explore all viable options before making a final decision on the closure of Salem Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Zekin, and I moved to Iowa in 2012.
I moved to Mount Pleasant in 2017. I bring up this fact just because I simply wanted to acknowledge that I do not know all of the history and tradition that some of the parents and community members in this room carry with them growing up in this district. However, I do want to share from my personal experience. My son 4 years ago started attending Mount Pleasant School District as a Panther preschooler. He was 4, and by Iowa state law, he had to go to public preschool at the age of 4. However, his birthday is July 28th in the summer. I did not feel comfortable sending him on to kindergarten, but junior kindergarten was not an option in Mount Pleasant School District because that program had already ended. I want to acknowledge that John Henriksen sat in his office with me for over an hour during that year as I made that difficult decision of what was best for my son. I ultimately open enrolled him in Minneapolis School District because they had an excellent transitional kindergarten program. He was there during a year when they got a new superintendent, which brings changes to school districts. Minneapolis' superintendent felt the need to discontinue the transitional kindergarten program during that year. I sat in many school board meetings, even though I could not speak because I was not a member of that community. I wrote many letters to the school board and to the superintendent about the importance of transitional kindergarten. I bring up this example because I understand as I look out at this group of people gathered here that you want the best for your children. It is important, it is valuable, and I know the heartbreaking pain that exists when the school district cannot provide what you think your child really needs. I also look with great empathy at each of these people sitting at these tables who serve faithfully to our school board. Your job is not easy because you have to make difficult decisions. While we can stand up and advocate for the students that matter most to us, our own children, you must think about all students and all children in our district. The financial decisions are not easy. In Minneapolis, our hard work of attending those school board meetings did save the transitional kindergarten program for 1 year. And then the school board had to make the hard decision to end that program. To the superintendent and the school board, I have 2 important questions. How do you build trust again? And what are the ways that you can bring healing in the midst of hurtful losses?
Thank
To
you.
the parents
Your time
and
is up.
members,
I'm sorry.
Lane Evans, and I dropped off kind of an outline. Some of the questions got answered, but how many children walk across the Iowa Wesleyan main campus a day during the school year? You're using up my time. You don't know? How many students walk across Iowa Wesleyan's campus a day? And similar to 60 or 87 students are at Salem. How many students walk across Iowa Wesleyan a day? Without the Wisdom Quest, because they're moving to the high school and you just mentioned that they're there. And there's 20 of them.
Right. Wisdom Quest has 20 students.
20 students.
We practice there every day.
20 students. And so I'm kind of arguing that maybe we need to look at discontinuing Iowa Wesleyan until we can justify the cost there. Move the superintendent's office to empty classrooms rather than spending $100,000 to put them in the nice windows in the gym. And think about things a little differently. Because based on the enrollment dropping 35 students a time at the current rebate of $8,100, you're going to be up in 10 years to $3 million of missing revenue. And we got a whole bunch of buildings with very little use. I do advocate that the superintendent's office be where the people they supervise can have touch base, interact with them. They're the most expensive employees we have. And the two older structures on Iowa Wesleyan, is it used for anything, or is it just pretty much the symphony, Southeast Iowa?
Which structures are you speaking?
The big building and the little building that are old brick.
Old Bain and Pioneer
Yeah.
Hall. Old Bain, we have two people that rent from us for 2 of those floors, and Pioneer Hall doesn't.
So the symphony's gone.
The Symphony and PEO both,
Left.
no, they're currently housed there.
Oh. And what kind of revenue does that bring in? Does it cover the cost?
We review that to see if it covers the utility costs.
And then the cost per student at Iowa Wesleyan, out of our general fund, not the local option money we spend however we need to on buildings. What's the cost per student to use Iowa Wesleyan, even after we get the superintendent's offices built out there?
I don't think we have those numbers available.
But we had that for sale.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Boltner. Sorry, I'm not much of a public speaker. I prefer a group of my peers very much to that. But I can honestly say that not for a second do I trust John Henriksen to make decisions for my children or to even. And it is personal. I put 4 kids through Salem. One graduated last year, and in case you didn't know, he took 12th at nationals for Mount Pleasant High School in the automotive competition. But we also seen the ugly side of it, and I have a whole lot of paperwork to go along with that. But when approached with issues or wanting answers or trying to find a solution to work through problems, I was met with, just move your kids into town. We'll just go ahead and bus them into town. We're not gonna deal with the problem. That's not an option. I have the emails that state, you can move your kid to town, you can leave him in Salem with the teacher who is verbally attacking him on a daily basis, or you can homeschool him and we will withdraw all of our support of your education from your child. And how is that helping? How is that fixing it? So I encouraged you to look into why Salem's enrollment was declining for so many years. We were over 100 kids. We were bursting at the seams. If you walk the halls, everybody's laughing. It's a wonderful environment. And does Mount Pleasant have that? Absolutely. Because Harlan probably saved my son when he was in 5th grade. And if you would like to know more about what he actually goes through on a daily basis, that he is scared to attend school, that he shuts down and forgets about his entire day because of what he went through and how that was just pushed to the side. But it's not just a Salem problem, unfortunately. It's a problem that you get faced with and then continue to just push it to the side because we have more important things to worry about. And that's not fair to anybody, any of our children in Mount Pleasant, in Salem. Our issues are so much bigger than what you continue to put on the agenda.
My name is Aaron Bowler, for those of you that don't know me. That was my mom just now. I'd like to speak just on behalf of the busing alone. It was 40 minutes minimum to get from Salem to Mount Pleasant every morning, every night. Miss out on so much time of your day. You have to get up so early. And me personally, I had to take ibuprofen just to make it through the bus ride without having don't see how that's fit for elementary kids to go through day in, day out, and I don't see how the busing cost will not increase. There's so many paths that have to go through out there, and I just don't see how you're gonna make bus rides enjoyable for kids in elementary and suitable for that. And that's all I have.
Checking. I'm Mary Hoyer, as I already said. A lot of people have talked about having the time to consider alternatives, and the reason I decided to get up again was because I was really struck by what Levi Shidstock said, that he doesn't really like his brother that much, but he really likes being in the same school with his brother. I went to the same school with my brothers and one sister, and it made it a community. Now, why not use Salem as a magnet school that gives priority to residents, which is legal, the way magnet schools can operate, and also encourage people who want their children to be educated together in one school instead of grade separate buildings. I think it wouldn't take many if you look at the numbers that have been given. Our enrollment numbers or class sizes are not that much different than they are in the other schools. It's just one option that could be considered, and I think it's a really important one. I also want to say, just by the way, I would really appreciate seeing the state, the way the state has cut spending on the school. See that chart with an overlay of what the inflation rate is per year, because with midterm elections coming up, it's not just the superintendent that's going to be changing. It could be major changes in state funding for schools. At least I hope.
Donna Preston, and I really appreciate that you guys are looking at all the fiscal and financial things, and I appreciate that. But can you tell me, we have 4 elementary schools. Do they all rank the same in the state grading scale? I believe Salem is excellent, where the others are acceptable. So why do you choose to close your best school? And as somebody else said, you could choose, you've rearranged all the students in Mount Pleasant, you could rearrange some down to increase the school size or the class size at Salem. And there's been a big push here talking about, we're talking the difference between general fund and the other funds. But the truth is, if you were to close Salem, there would be more of that 1 penny sales tax stuff to go for the central campus. And I'm thinking that's probably just a general consensus with the public. So, I don't understand why you would close your best school and bring the rest of the school system down.
Hello, my name is Haley Swinsko. I recognize a lot of faces in the crowd because I am a bus driver for the school district, but I please ask that you do not look at me in that lens. Look at me as a parent. I come to you first. I want to say thank you for your job, what you do for us. I do not envy your positions. It is hard. I would like to touch base on enrollment for a second. Why is enrollment down? I would like to see our community come together
and try to do what we can for our town to draw people in. If you look around at the surrounding communities, a lot of the rec centers are a lot larger than ours. Look at Fairfield. They have 3 full-size basketball courts, and they have a lot of events that happen there. I'd love to see something like that happen at Central Campus. You look at their high schools. They have an attached auditorium, which shows respect for their fine arts programs. I'd love to see our high school have an attached auditorium. I think there are things that we could do and come together to make our enrollment increase. And then also, I would like to touch on, I hope I can speak on it, Wisdom Quest, moving to the high school. I know those kids, I know why they leave the high school. They don't want to be here. They do not want to be here. And if we bring them to the high school, they're just going to drop out. They will drop out, and I hate to see that. I hate to see those kids leave high school because of that. I'd like to see them be put in a better facility where they feel more accepted, because that's not what they feel here, and that's why they leave. Also, I would like to add that I love the idea of trying to bring parents to Salem School. If they desire that neighborhood school, maybe we could put out a survey and see, hey, if we offer this for parents that have a kid at Harlan, Lincoln, Van Allen, would you be interested in putting them on a bus at the middle school, coming down to Salem with their siblings and attending school together? You don't know if you don't try. Just a survey, see what people do. Maybe you'll have too many and you'll have to say, all right, first come, first serve. We're gonna have to prioritize this by who has kids at Harlan, Lincoln, and Van Allen. Or maybe you won't get any, but you don't know until you try. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Bearden, and I'm just within the last couple of years, I guess personally been taking more of an interest in my local community and county, because I realize, things that are happening nationwide, we can't control those. Maybe we can't control what's happening statewide, but we can control what's happening in our county, in our district, in our cities, and school. As I've been thinking about this, it seems to me like people have been saying over and over here tonight is, why close Salem, your best school? Why not take the info that you would glean from that school and apply it to the rest of the schools to help their enrollment go up and address the problem there? Number two, I've been hearing there's a lot of disciplinary issues going on with the other Mount Pleasant School District schools. So a lot of kids going to Salem are going there because they're kind of comfortable with that. So you sending it to the other schools in the school district, they may not be comfortable with it. They've already said tonight that some parents will be sending their kids to other schools because of that, if they do close down Salem. So I think there's, my close friend of mine tonight, Mason Franker, spoke here at the meeting the other night, talking about bullying that's been going on of his own little boy, seeing things that have been happening and things aren't being properly addressed. So I think there's a lot of things that need to be addressed first before we even get down this road of closing Salem. Let's ensure the disciplinary issues and the other schools are getting taken care of first before we address this problem. So whether we, another thing I was thinking of, someone just a little bit ago said, talking about bringing the parents in and letting them have more of a decision, or walk through the schools, see the input, have the teachers there say, this is the issues we're having, this is issues happening. They can point to issues and show parents in this community what they're dealing with on an everyday basis. Come and have an open house, which they've kind of done in the past. But just, anyways, to bring transparency to everything that's happening. And again, Salem's one of our best. There's a reason why that is. And someone said, take our time, don't rush this. And just listen to the community. Sometimes people in the community have better ideas than people in leadership. So just listen to them. So thank you.
I'm Jacob Dotz. I have 3 kids in the district and I do live here in Mount Pleasant. My kids are spread out between Van Allen, the middle school and high school. We've been in the Mount Pleasant district since they started school. I'm here tonight because I wanted to learn more about what the actual financial situation was as opposed to making an emotional decision. And I understand Salem's plight. I grew up in Danville. We fought consolidation with New London in the 90s. So I get the issue. And I have yet to talk to anybody who is of the belief that we want to close Salem. I don't think there was a desire to cut the positions that were cut last week. But I don't envy the board's position. And I think that looking at the numbers objectively that were presented here tonight, there is no other option. We have 1.8 million that has to be cut. If we don't close Salem, which that's the board's decision to make, $523,000 has to be made up somewhere. And as a parent with children in the district, there's a broader district that needs to be thought of. And the thought of 11 more teaching positions being cut, additional assistance programs being cut from the broader side of the district, I don't know what that looks like. So I guess my only thing is I appreciate the board's transparency tonight as far as walking through those numbers. I thought they were very well presented. They make very good sense if you truly look at them from an objective as opposed to an emotional decision. But I do hope that you guys take into consideration everything that's been said here tonight as far as the value of having the building in Salem, but also taking into account what needs to be done for the district as a whole.
Hi, I'm Lois Ross. I was sitting on this board several years ago, and we were having the same discussion. And I realized there's a lot of you out there who were in classes with my kids, and I know this is very emotional for you, but we're talking about 1/10 of the population in the Mount Pleasant Community School District. So the decision has to be made, and it's up to you to do that, to look at the whole, what's right for the whole district, not just Salem. And I know I'm gonna upset you, but this has to do with what's right for the community and for our school district, not just one school. So vote with how you should vote, how you want to vote, but the motion has to be taken out of it.
Hi, my name is David Hubbard. I'm a proud father of a 4 out of state and then 4 in Mount Pleasant. I have 2 in there right now, 1 in high school, 1 in grade school in Salem. What I want to know is what happened in the last 10 years that our enrollment is dropping, tanking like it is. You can't say birth rate or rate, but something happened. I mean, there was a time I lived in Fairfield and I drove my daughter every morning, picked her up every night from Fairfield just so she can go to Mount Pleasant. So, what happened? Why are we losing this? What are we doing to gain these people back? I mean, what the whole district, I mean, it used to be the district to come to. I mean, everybody I talked to when I moved up here, go to Mount Pleasant, go to Mount Pleasant. Now it's, well, maybe, you know, look at Lee, look at Van Buren. So I just want to know, are we doing something to increase our enrollment? Or are we just going to take it and just fight the war? Jeff, please. You know, what school's next? You know, like you said, 35 this year, 35 next year. It's just going to keep on increasing unless we do something.
It's a much broader problem.
Last call for speakers for the public hearing.
My youngest child is in 3rd grade, and she has been through many schools in the Mount Pleasant district, starting with Van Allen. She had a wonderful year in kindergarten, loved school, and then something happened. By the time we hit 1st grade, it was a fight going to school every day. 2nd grade hit, and it was a bigger fight because we had grade alike. Shouldn't it be great? Grade alike, oh my gosh, you're with all your peers. She was relentlessly bullied. I didn't know what to do as a parent. What do I do when the entire 3rd grade of Mount Pleasant District doesn't like your kid? So I did something crazy. I said, I'm taking her to Salem. Well, you live in Mount Pleasant. No, I'm taking her to Salem. And I filled out the transfer building form, and I was left with no answer for week after week. I called multiple times. Hey, have you looked at my transport office or my transfer building form yet? Have you looked? Have you looked? Have you looked? It was our last resort for the school district. And I finally, after the 3rd phone call and weeks later, well, we don't know. We don't know if Salem's gonna be open next year. We don't know if they have the numbers. Guess what? My kid was number 19 in the 3rd grade. That little map that you showed, the little graph, you went from 86 to 87. Olive's number 87. She made it. I fought for it. I fought to put my kid in Salem.
There shouldn't be a fight.
In the first 2 weeks that my kid came home, she said, Mom, you want to know the best thing about Salem? And I said, what? She said, there's no bullying. There's no bullying. And any issue I've ever had, I've gone to the teacher, corrected. Any issue I've had has been addressed with open arms. I joined the PTA because I want to find like-minded individuals that are there for their kids and are willing to fight for their kids. And that PTA puts a lot of work into Salem. Holy cow! You should be embarrassed. I couldn't even, I signed up for the PTA twice. I signed up twice at those other schools and never got an email, never got a call. And I signed up for Salem, and the first thing they did was, we were so excited you're here. Welcome. So tell me what's different about Salem.
The people.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the people. Thank you, Salem, for treating my kid amazingly. I appreciate you. I appreciate your community. Thank you for making my kid feel welcome.
My name is Katie Westfall. My husband and I, we have a student at Salem in 3rd grade, and we also have a middle schooler. My middle school student was at Harlan for most of her elementary years. 5th grade, we decided, my son was entering kindergarten, and she was entering 5th grade. And for logistics reasons, because that is the community where my family is from, and we have future plans to build a house in that area, I wanted to start my son there to finish all 6 years at Salem. I fought for that for a few weeks leading up to the start of elementary school for my kindergartner. John did deny the transfer for a building transfer and said they are not allowed, even though I know it is very well allowed within, at the time, neighborhood schools in town. I did get to the point of saying I was going to change my address to the land we are building on, and it was then said, no, you don't need to do that. So I feel like to the board, that is a way we could increase enrollment at Salem, is let those parents in that want to come. The other thing I want to touch on real quick is schools should generally keep students with individualized education programs or IEPs at their home school to comply with the least restrictive environment or LRE mandate, which requires educating students alongside peers without disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate. Are Salem parents being educated and advocated on for this? Because I don't think a lot of the parents know, and those students are getting not busted, they're getting told they have to transfer to Mount Pleasant. We do have IEPs at Salem, the parents just have to fight, because that is in the best interest of the student, if possible, to keep them at their school. I have full intentions of sending my children on to middle
middle school here and things, but with all the hate being spewed and everything that this has all caused, I am questioning that decision. Lastly, I would just like to urge the board to pause. I feel like it would be the most ethical thing to do to let the new members, the current members, look over everything, the budget, the feelings, the thoughts, and pause this until our new superintendent can take a look at things too.
Last call for the public hearing speakers.
All right, with that, we will conclude the public hearing and we will start on our work session agenda.
Well, what did you think tonight? There was a lot of passion here, emotion, facts, numbers, everybody wanting to do the best for the whole school district. And thank you for watching. Thanks to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming, LLC, and Iowa Technology Systems. Hey, I'll show you the last part, the budget deal thing, in another episode. I'm your tired host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.